From the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, you're all I think of. I'll do anything for you, baby, anything. I want to spend every moment making you feel good, making you happy, protecting you. You're everything to me. You give my life meaning. This ain't about sex. It's about marriage and children and growing old together. It's about us taking our love to the next level.
Perfect. You can kill me now.
Welcome to the Blind Rage Podcast. This is Brandon Ford.
And g'day, this is Tony the Tiger, aka the Thunder from Down Under.
We are doing a very, very special movie this week. We are doing Frank Henenlotter's 2008 exploitation. I wouldn't really call it a horror movie, would you? No.
No. Although it
for
sounds
sure
like you're
exploitation.
recreating the title with your words, like as your mouth become.
Oh. Well, we're doing Bad Biology.
Yes.
Which is a movie that even Frank's most hardcore fans don't even know about for some reason. It's sadly overlooked, but I hoped that would change because it was on Tubi for a while. I don't know if it still is.
Not to be.
But it's not on Tubi?
No, is it to be or not to be?
Oh, I was my screenreader was talking to me. But before we get into that, I want to get the plugs out of the way quickly. I'd like to encourage you all to check out my books in paperback and Kindle editions on Amazon.com or the Amazon app on your smartphone by typing in Brandon Ford. You'll also find my author page, which you can follow to get email notifications of my new releases. I also have titles in audiobook format on audible.com as well as the Audible app. Just type in Brandon Ford. If you don't already, please follow me on Instagram at writer Brandon Ford. I'm also on both Twitter and Letterboxd at Brandon Ford. You can follow Tony on Letterboxd at Tony_the_bear. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, critiques, suggestions, recommendations, you can email me directly at Blind Rage Pod or on the Blind Rage Podcast official Facebook page. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe there. And lastly, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. So before we get into the movie, Tony, what have you been watching lately?
Well, a mix of things. I recently rewatched The Fifth Element, if you ever saw that. With
I haven't, but I'm familiar with it. Mm-hmm.
And that was fun. It's very Euro trashy, but it's good fun, and Bruce Willis is fine to look at. And also I watched the recent James Bond movie, No Time to Die, which it is what it was.
Okay.
And how about yourself? Have you watched anything of note?
A couple things. I watched a movie called Whispers from 1990 that was very much of its time. And it had Victoria Tennant and Chris Sarandon. And it was based on a novel by Dean Koontz, which I'm not familiar with. I've read a good number of his books, but I I don't know. I don't know that one. Um, it was fine.
Yeah,
It really wasn't anything special. I mean, it was a fairly paint by numbers thriller.
yeah. Was it like a ghost story, or what does Whispers have to do with it?
Um, Victoria Tennant's character is a novelist, and she is accosted uh, and by this intimidating figure who doesn't talk. He whispers
Okay.
threats to her. Um, but I don't know. I mean, it was like a movie that didn't know what the fuck it wanted to be. I mean, first I thought it was going to be. First, I thought it was going to be a ghost story. Then I thought it was going to be about vampires. Then I thought it was going to be about zombies. It was like all over the map. And
Yeah,
it gives you every reason to believe that because of the story arc. Everything
yeah.
kept changing. And by the time it was over, I was like, I don't care anymore. And Chris Sarandon played a cop again.
Hmm.
And as soon, because she calls him after the first encounter with the guy, and it's like you know right off the bat they're gonna fuck, and of course they do.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh well.
I huh?
Oh, nothing wrong with that.
Well, there was something wrong with that because he made more noise during the sex scene than she did, and it made me uncomfortable. Um,
You wanted to empathize with the bottom.
moving along. Um,
Although that
I
the name of that reminds me of like back in those days, back in the 90s, Whisper was a tampon and pad company in Australia. So, and I always remember their
with
ads that have like a sanitary napkin where they write the word "whisper" onto it to show that it doesn't leak.
oh well, the ones in our ads they just used to um pour blue water onto them,
Yeah.
or was that diapers?
Well, this
I
one they
think it
use
was
blue,
both.
yeah, like a blue dye to write the word
They're not
"whisper."
going to use red, I can tell you that.
No, red or brown, yellow.
Yeah, it's they have to make it pretty. They have to
Yeah.
make the menstrual
I
cycle
wonder if it's in reference
attractive.
to Blue Bloods.
Oh God. Um. Anyway, I also saw a movie that I'd never heard of, but it was very interesting, and it was very groundbreaking at its time, which was 1982, and it was called Making Love, which is a term I really
Oh,
don't
I've
care
heard that
for.
one.
Have you heard of it?
Is it a famous director or writer? Did it?
Arthur Hiller, who did oh, the only thing that I know him from was Outrageous Fortune,
Oh,
but
okay.
he did do some pretty famous movies. But it's got Kate Jackson and Michael Onkeen from Made to Order. He was the mechanic who Ali Sheedy falls in love with, and Harry Hamlin. And Michael Onkeen and Kate Jackson were a married couple, and Michael's character is coming to terms with his homosexuality. He's a doctor in it, and he realizes that he has an attraction to Harry Hamlin's character, and they have a bit of a fling. Um, and Michael's character wants a relationship, but Harry's character is more about hooking up and things like that. And you see Michael's character um, uh, try to battle his feelings and until he realizes that he can't, and he comes clean to his wife, and they have, some static, and it's really not at all sexually explicit, at least from what I could hear. There's a kissing scene, and I didn't even hear any kissing. Um, but apparently there was some sexual content, but I don't think it was very graphic. But
Mm.
there was supposed to be a moment, or there is a moment, I guess, in the movie where the two of them are, I think one's on top of the other, and they didn't want to do it, so they had to have um, doubles, which I thought was
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of sad. Um, but there was a lot of controversy around that movie at the time, and
From who though?
well, from one of the main executives at 20th Century Fox, um, after he went to see a screening of it, as soon as the kissing scene, um, he yelled at the director and some of the producers and said, "You made a faggot movie," and got up and stormed out. And um, it was supposed to be. Oh, he did Love Story. That was his big movie, Arthur Hiller.
Oh, yep, yep, yep.
So yeah, it was supposed to be like a big summer movie, but they
Yep.
pushed it back and pushed it back and pushed it back until February of the next year.
Okay.
Um, but um,
Sorry.
but it was surprising to me that also Arthur Hiller asked a lot of people, big name actors, for Michael Onkin's character. Michael Douglas, Harrison Ford, um, all these really big names, and everybody said no.
Mm.
Tom Berenger, which I don't, that wouldn't have been good. Um, but either they just flat out said no, or they said no, and don't even tell anybody that you talked to me about this.
Yep, yep.
Um,
Well, I think that
everybody
was
was,
more reflecting of the time as well.
well, it was. Um, but also, there was a documentary that came out in the mid 90s about the representation of LGBT characters in cinema, and Michael Onkin wanted to get the footage from the movie excised from the documentary, which I thought was a little tacky.
Mm-hmm.
He was unsuccessful, but um, also I was looking up information about it on YouTube, and I saw Kate Jackson on the Tonight Show to promote it, and she barely even spoke about the movie. And when it came time for the clip, they said, so what's going to happen in this clip? And she started to talk about it, and she said, "Well, I should say that this movie does deal with homosexuality." And somebody in the audience booed,
Mm.
which was shocking to me.
Yeah, well, but see, I see that very reflective of the time that
Yes, I
people were
know, but
quite comfortable to boo that.
yeah, I mean, but it's still hard to believe that there was a time when somebody would behave like that.
Yeah. No, I don't find it. I find it unfortunate, but
Well, it's
that's
both.
very much
It's
the case.
it's 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 very sad.
Yeah,
But and
we're at a better
plus
place now, so
we're in a better place.
that's
But they even had to put a disclaimer at the beginning of the movie to warn people of the content. And like I said, it really isn't sexually explicit. And it actually, even though Harry Hamlin's character is kind of a stereotype in that he's very promiscuous and he spends a lot of time in gay bars and cruising and shit like that.
does that make me a
You,
stereotype?
yes, it doesn't really show anything. It
Yeah.
just, um, it just you see him there and talking to people and that's about it. And um, toward the end of the movie, Michael Ontkean's character um, ends up they get divorced. He gets divorced from his wife, and he does find someone else, and you see them living together, and they're in a loving relationship. So, and it was rare to see movies at that time that didn't show gay characters in a negative
Mm.
or stereotypical light,
Or
because there was
get punished for being gay, and
or
by
get
that,
punished for
where
being
they
gay.
die in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's at that time there was movies like Cruising, and La Cage aux Folles, and then there was like movies that treated homosexuality as a joke, like Partners. Um, but this was a serious take on it,
Hmm.
and that was considered groundbreaking at that time. If you look at it now, it's incredibly tame, but yeah, it
But I think
was.
you need to look at movies in the time that they were in,
Yeah,
and respect it for
yeah,
that.
yes, and I think it's because of the way things have changed. I think it's important to for these movies to be available, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, the DVD is out of print and it's expensive, and I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. So, but if you can find it, I do recommend it,
Yeah.
especially if you play for Tony and my team, because it's
But you can't even
what
catch.
I can't. I would argue if it weren't true, but I can't. And you can interpret that however you wish.
I was talking about your volleyball experience
Oh,
and the
I
keys at your
know.
store.
First of all, it was a frisbee.
Ah, that's right. With me,
Um,
it's the keys.
well, that was keys too. No, don't throw things at me. I don't like it because it's just gonna end up on the floor or in
You
my
don't even like people
face.
throwing compliments at you.
No, I don't like that either.
No, no, it's like, oh, I don't know how to take that. Thank you, though.
I don't. I don't. I remember meeting somebody for a coffee date once, and he went, "You're very cute, by the way," and I just like kind of lowered my head and went, "I," and put my hand over my face, and I said, "I don't deal very well with
You
compliments."
started drooling with a smile.
No, I just genuinely didn't know how to react because it's not something that I hear.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah.
Oh, did you wet
Anyway,
yourself?
yes, I did. Before we get too personal, because I think I got personal enough in the Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 commentary. Um, I think we should start the movie.
Yes.
So we're gonna start Bad Biology. I don't know if it's streaming on Prime. The Blu-ray is well, it's not out of print, but it's going for $99.99 on Amazon now. So if you want to watch it, it might be on YouTube. I don't know. Maybe find it someplace and have a look. See what
Make
is
it a
it? What is
mission.
the time? What's it? 84 minutes 15 seconds. Is that
That
right?
is correct.
All right. So yeah, we are going to begin with a 3 count, and then we're going to get into bad biology. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, play. Now I want to talk about what led up to this movie.
Yes.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with Frank Henenlotter, he's very famous for the basket case movies and for Brain Damage and for Frankenhooker. And in the early 90s, he had, because the video market had changed so much, he had a lot of trouble selling the kinds of scripts and doing the kinds of movies that he wanted to do. So every meeting he would go to and pitch them something, they would say, well, it's not really for us, but what about Basket Case 4? And he didn't even want to do 3. And he hates 3.
Yeah.
So he decided, if I can't make the movies that I want to make, I'm just going to step back. So he stepped back and he helped co-found Something Weird Video, which put out DVD and VHS in the 90s and DVD later and Blu-ray later of movies that had never been released before, sexploitation movies, exploitation movies, Herschel Gordon Lewis movies, all kinds of lost or movies that were perceived to be lost. So that's what he did. And somewhere around, I believe, 1999 or 98, he met the rapper R.A. the Rugged Man, and they became friends. R.A. is fond of Frank's work, and he wanted Frank to direct some of his music videos. So he directed a handful of them, and he's the first time I saw him, he was in the on the supplemental materials for the Basket Case DVD, where they talk about the making of the movie and go through where the areas of New York where it was filmed. And I didn't know that RA had been wanting to collaborate on something with Frank for a while. So initially, there was a movie that they were working on that they wrote together called Sick in the Head. And they couldn't get it financed. They took it to companies and they said it's not for us. So Frank was getting a lot of what he got in the 90s, and it seemed for a while that it was a lost cause. Here we have first nude scene, Anthony Sneed. What do you think
Bare
of that?
ass.
You like that?
Yeah, it's got a nice body.
Yeah. So Sick in the Head was on IMDb for a while as being in pre-production, so I was hoping that it would come out. And then all of a sudden it was gone. And then there turned out, I found Frank's MySpace page, and I I think it was in his top 8 or something. Back in the days of top 8, there was a page for bad biology, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And so, yeah, then I started to follow the evolution of the movie, and I really didn't know anything about what it was about. And then the trailer came out, and they had the world premiere at the Philadelphia Film Festival, and I found out the day after.
Yes.
So I could have seen it at the Philadelphia Film Festival, where Frank and R.A. both appeared on stage to do an introduction and a Q&A after. But I did not know. This guy here,
I think it's a bit cute.
well, he's a bad boy. He's somebody that a lot of the people who make Charlie Danielson, who plays Jennifer, is RA's girlfriend. I don't know if they're still together, but she was at the time. They were at the time. And this, he helped cast a lot of the movie. A lot of the people in the movie are either rappers that he knows or fans that he met at shows and thought they had an interesting look.
Yeah.
And RA's fathers in the movie. But this guy was in and out of jail a lot. And he grew up with RA in RA's neighborhood. And when they shot this, he was 10 days out of jail after doing 10 years for something. I don't know. They didn't say. And when Frank met him, he asked him about his tattoos, and he said everything that you hear him say to Charlie's character. Yeah. That's all him. And Frank wanted full frontal for this scene, and he didn't care. He was like, "But I want an erection." And Frank's like, "Oh no. That's not the kind of movie that we're making." And he's like, "Well, when I have an erection, that's when I look my best." And Frank said, "No, we can't do that." And then when they came time to film it, he was like trying to chub up a bit when he knew it was going to be filmed, and they got into an argument. But after he's dead, you see him lying on the bed, and that was when you were supposed to see the nude scene, but it's kind of dark and you really can't see much of anything anyway.
So he's a shower but not a grower. He's a grower but not a shower.
I guess. So
well, because you want people to see you at your best light.
You would, but this was not meant to have a mainstream release ever.
No.
So when RA proposed that they do something together, Frank said, "Well, if we're going to do something, I want it to be crazy. I want it to be something very far outside the mainstream. I want it to be something that nobody's seen before. I want it to be something worthwhile, because I don't want to do the same thing that I did before, and I don't want to do what everybody else is doing." So they came up with this insane script, and RA managed to get the financing for it. They raised $1 million. He raised $1 million. That's what the total budget was. And a lot of this, they utilized a lot of their own stuff. This was RA's apartment that they shot in. And a lot of the set dressing for some of the other scenes are things that RA just went around the corner and picked up at the dollar store.
Yeah.
So, and plus, I want to say this. Anthony Sneed's character's name, Bats, at the beginning or a couple minutes ago when he had to do his nude scene, that was his first day, or I think it was actually his first shot, the first shots that he did for the movie, and he didn't tell Frank at the time, and I'm actually surprised that Frank said this on the commentary, but Anthony had violent diarrhea during that day, and the hideous yellow mansion that they filmed in had no plumbing, so they had no toilet, and he had to run to a White Castle around the corner a couple times.
Which is probably where you got the diarrhea in the first place.
Probably. So yeah, a lot of this was RA pulling favors from people he knew, and so they rented the mansion. It's a 22-room mansion for a month for $4,000,
Yeah.
but there was no heat and there was no
Water.
plumbing. But
And it's apparently haunted as well.
it's apparent. It is, well, they say Frank didn't experience anything, but well, the only thing he experienced was a door opening and closing,
Yeah.
and it was down in the basement, and they all decided to go down to see what was going on, and they didn't find anything. That's RA's father.
Yeah.
It was originally supposed to be one of his rapper friends to do this part, and Frank was getting a little tired of people not showing up or not showing up on time. So he was just like, let's just get your father because his father was supposed to do another part, and he said, let's just get him to do this, and he's very happy with it.
Yeah. Because he had a string of lines to
Oh, he just made that
out.
up.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
That was all improv. Frank just said, just go on a rant
angry.
and be as foul as possible.
Yeah.
But I want to get back to Anthony Sneed real quick. He really wanted this role. I believe he was a fan of Frank's, and he really wanted it. And he gave a good read, and I think Frank told him on the spot, he's like, I like you, you have a good look, and you gave a good read, but you're not right. And he's like, why? And at the time, he had a bit of a belly.
Oh, okay.
So, Frank said, it's not right for the role. And Anthony said, when are you filming? Frank told him, and he's like, well, just give me a month, and I swear to you I'll lose it.
Yeah.
And he ran every day, and he lost the weight and the belly, as you can see in the movie, because he does look good. So Frank is very happy. There is some speculation that Frank is gay. I don't know if he is or if he isn't.
Yeah.
But he never says anything one way or another about attraction to men or women, or saying if anybody. Well, he'll say somebody's attractive. He'll say like how beautiful Charlie is in a lot of these.
Well,
scenes.
I think that I know this isn't entirely the director, but every character that wants to be portrayed as sexy is portrayed as sexy or beautiful. Like he doesn't make anyone look bad, I don't think. even this bold guy that was fucking her.
This guy, R.A. found at a concert. He found him in Colorado.
Yeah.
And he was in the front row. and he was wearing an R.A. the Rugged Man shirt, and he said like he had a weird like Hills Have Eyes look. That's
Yeah.
what R.A. said, and he pulled him aside and he said, "You got to be in this movie that we're doing." And he took a picture of him and he sent it to Frank, and Frank was like, "If you can get him." So they flew him back to out to New York, and he did that scene, and that was that.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of Mercury or Mars from The Hills Have Eyes original, but less deformed.
You like these little babies?
They're very cute.
They were done by Gabe Bartalos.
Oh, the orphanage. Just kidding.
They were done by Gabe Bartalos, who did the effects on this movie and is a good friend of Frank's and did the effects for the Basket Case 2 and 3, Brain Damage, and Frankenhooker. Apparently, this was 2008, and like I said, they Frank.
It looks very 90s to me, just by the way, and it gives me 90s feels.
It's very It's very gritty, and that's what they were going for. But what was I saying?
Sorry, you were saying about 2008, and
I was saying, it's surprising to me that they're still friends, because like they met in the late 90s, like I said, when Frank started directing his music videos, and like on a whim I just looked Frank's name up in podcasts, and RA has a podcast, and I found that episode that he was on. It was like a year ago, something like that, a year or so. So they're still friendly.
yeah.
There he is. That's him right there.
Oh, okay.
Now, two things about this scene. First thing I want to say is the moment that you see him looking at her, and it's from the perspective is from inside
The vagina.
her
yes.
vagina, and you just see him looking. That was one of the posters,
Oh, okay.
and
Yes.
all you see was that little. You see that basically right there with his eye, with the title, and you don't know what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was one of the posters that was on MySpace.
yeah.
And I was like, what is this? But yeah, and now when he gets up and he throws her out, this is really all he was supposed to do. He was just like, just get up, and force her to the door. But he freaks out. And she didn't know he was going to do this. And there's a shot where you see her look at the camera like, what? And it's really quick.
yeah, yeah.
But she looks frightened. Because she didn't know nobody knew he was going to do that. And then after they all cut, she chewed him out. It's like, I can't believe you treated me like that. I wanted to cut your fucking dick off and blah, blah, blah.
Oh.
Yeah, she was
I
pissed.
thought it added well to the scene.
She was pissed.
Maybe that's how she is as an actress, where
Well,
she just likes to be
I
very
think-
prepared or something.
Well, the thing is, I think she would have been okay with it had they told her beforehand, because Frank said that she was one of the most fearless actresses he ever worked with. No matter what he said, she was okay, no problem. She was down to do anything for this movie, which is evident because she does some crazy shit. And this was her first movie. Um, so he said he really liked working with her because she was so easy to work with.
Yeah.
Um, Sidebar.
And she
Uh,
does a good voiceover, just by the way, which I think is very important for this type of movie.
um, sh- she's okay. She's not the strongest actress, but neither is Anthony Sneed. But I don't really think that you go for a movie like this for.
This guy I thought was cutest.
Is he the German guy?
I don't think so. No, it could be. He
I
reminds me
think
of African Frenchman.
he's got an accent.
Yes.
Then he's the German guy. Yeah, they found him in a vitamin store.
Oh, okay.
R.A. and Charlie found it. Well, the way R.A. said it in the commentary, because they were looking for people for this part, and R.A. said to her, "Is he good looking?" Because apparently, because R.A.'s straight, he can't tell if a guy's handsome. So, she's like, "Yeah, he's very cute." And they went up to him and they said, "Do you want to be in the movie?" And he said, "What a coincidence! I just started acting lessons today." Um, the
Which
this
is probably all the
is
lessons you need for this movie.
this is the one of the sets that R.A. decorated himself with just the stuff from the dollar store.
Yeah. They're not the Yankee Candle knockoffs.
This is one of my favorite scenes where she has a
Gets all
total
angry at him.
schizophrenic moment where she's beating him with the lamp.
She's just some other guy now. But don't let it get me down.
From what I remember, he's got a pretty nice six pack.
Now, when you were
So,
talking about the inspiration for the movie, I thought you were going to mention how Frank Henenlotter was diagnosed with cancer.
well, oh yes, there's that. So he found out that he had prostate cancer a month before they started shooting.
Yeah.
And what he did was he would go to get chemo and radiation at 6, and then he would report to set at about 9 every morning. And so many things went wrong during the making of this movie. And I mean, the house caught fire. They kept losing sets. People wouldn't give them permits.
Actors weren't showing up.
Actors weren't showing up. People would say, you could use this as a set, and then they would triple the cost, and then triple that cost, and it was just headache after headache after headache. But he was thankful for that because it was a distraction. He couldn't think. He didn't think about his cancer.
Yeah.
And because all he was thinking about was this movie.
Yeah.
And he's been in total remission ever since.
Good.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought there was a spark, a connection here, and I thought it deserved more respect and consideration than a simple It's not you, it's me. I found myself not needing anyone, and what do? I got weak. I got emotional. And I actually thought that maybe you and I could...
Oh, she's not done.
I'm sorry. And I apologize.
Um,
Now, is it ever explained why she likes to bareback,
I can't help
or
it.
just to add to the movie?
Imagine the emotions of meeting
uh,
She likes giving birth. Is that it? Yeah.
3.5 minutes.
I
She was
don't.
saying how the labor can be more intense than orgasm.
Yeah. Um.
I remember once I had a because I used to be a bus driver. I had a passenger on board who started just chatting to another passenger out of nowhere. And in the conversation, he talked about how his girlfriend got pregnant. And she said that it was his, but he knew it wasn't because years earlier he chose to have a vasectomy.
My ex had a big dick. Over 10.
Mhm.
And this was just something he brought it to a complete stranger. And I was just thinking, I wonder, like, if she should have gone for someone who was shooting blanks.
So amazing. I hate small dicks. I'd rather just finger myself. You're crazy.
Well, sometimes vasectomies don't work.
Like I was getting stabbed.
Well, I realise that.
Not too big, but big enough. I mean, the ladies love it. I'm no John Holmes, but I know how to work it. Holmes. John Holmes, the porn star, he had a 14-inch fucking cock.
I really don't like watching people eat at all.
Really?
No, I don't.
He's gross.
Don't kid yourself.
I can't believe he actually had a picture of John Holmes handy like that.
14 inches? Whoa.
I like when she says the veins in John Holmes' dick look like earthworms.
I always remember the roast of Pamela Anderson where they said Tommy Lee's the vein in his penis is bigger than my penis.
14 inches. Let him fuck me with just the head. I want to be
I really
If I was John Holmes,
fucking. I think Tommy Lee really is kind of like John Holmes in that they both
those pretty boys on TV
are
got shit.
quite above average in endowment, but they're disgusting. Tommy Lee is disgusting.
I would say he's better than John Holmes.
Yeah, well,
Or
doesn't
am I
take
think-
much.
Yeah.
But I don't. Well, I'm not gonna get too personal.
Lord.
I was just gonna say a big dick really doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Um, but there was the fucking what do you call it?
Porn
The
awards.
contract for my for the adaptation of my first book. When I was meeting with the director, we were talking back and forth. Was like a year after this, and he was looking at actors, and he had one actor in mind for the lead, and he said, "I think if things go according to plan, we can get Charlie Danielson for the second lead." And I was like, "Yes, if you can get her, definitely."
Yeah.
I don't know if he ever actually approached her or not, but I like this part.
This is like killer condom style animatronics.
Frank had to film all that porn because,
He couldn't get access.
well, he didn't want to pay for it, and plus, it couldn't be hardcore.
Yeah.
So it wasn't real. It was simulated anyway.
Yep.
But he told the story on a podcast, and one of the guys, they were getting ready to shoot it, and one of the guys was like, "Do you need a cum shot?" And Frank was like, "I don't even need an erection. This is simulated." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And he said the girl was mad because she thought they were going to really be fucking, and he literally said, "I think she was itching."
Oh, okay.
I thought it was funny.
I don't really want people coming in. You don't want to fuck this opportunity up, man. It's gonna be a hip hop suit. It's gonna be model bitches and trying to
But the original idea for the Bats character was he was going to be working in a factory, and he was going to be living in the basement, and that was going to be his lair with all the
Yeah.
TVs and shit. But then they were able to get this mansion from a friend of RA's. Like I said, a lot of what ended up being in the movie was because of RA's connections with people.
Yep. Oh, it's good to be connected.
Well, and yeah, and I knew he was a rapper. I knew who he was, like I said, because of the featurette on the basket case, on the basket case DVD and Blu-ray, and I knew that he was a rapper, and they had said stuff about there being a lot of different rappers in the movie and there being a rap soundtrack. And I was like, oh, this probably isn't going to be very good. But it doesn't really matter one way or the other if
No,
you're
no.
into the music, because it's really not. I love this scene. This is all improv with this girl. And do you know who Rude Jude is? Did you
No.
with the red beard?
No.
Do you remember the Jenny Jones show?
Oh, vaguely? Yes.
Um,
That was around the time of, like, Maury Povich. That time.
yeah, she was
yeah.
in the '90s when all like the big trashy talk shows were
Yeah.
popular.
Post Ricky Lake.
She was a little trashier than Ricky Lake.
Yeah.
But yeah, from what I remember, Jude was just like a guest for something. I don't remember. And he was like just so outrageous on the show, and he got such a huge response that she invited him back to do like to do like man on the street stuff.
Oh, yep.
So yeah, he would just like go out on the streets and like fuck with people. And now he's on satellite radio. Eminem has a channel called Shade 41, and he has a show on there, and he's been doing that for a while. And he used to he was friendly with Jason Ellis, and he used to show up on Jason Ellis's show every once in a while.
Yeah.
Jason is openly bisexual, and it didn't bother Jason, but I didn't like it. But Jude used to call him half a fag.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well.
He told this story once that was kind of gross, where he said that Jude, that is, he had just jerked off, and I guess he cleaned himself as best as he could, but there was like some residue in his chest there or whatever. And
Yeah, yeah.
he went out to take the trash out, and somebody had just moved in next door and decided to go over and introduce themselves. So, yeah, he went and met his new neighbor with dried jizz on his
Yeah.
chest and shook their hand. Because he's. I still to this day have no idea what a jimmy jig is. I assume it's a crack pipe.
Oh, it could be, yeah. Sorry, I keep trying to remember. But Anthony Seen, watching this again, he kind of reminds me of an actor who was in he often plays like the villain in comedy roles, but he was like Walter Mitty's boss, but and in Big Little Lies. But he also reminds me of someone I went to school with, who I was good friends with, and then lost contact with over an issue with my ex. But
Oh. Shit. Fucking chair. But yeah, the house caught fire at one point because the scene with Tina Krause, well, she's playing herself. They were supposed to do a photo shoot with her in the house, but
Yeah.
and it was supposed to be daytime, and she could only work at night.
oh, okay.
I don't know. I guess she was doing another movie. So they had a generator outside that was connected to a light, and the light was shining through the window to make it look like daytime. And the generator was too close to the house, and the house was, or the mansion was 150 years old, so it was like paper. So it caught fire. And they didn't get to it right away. While they were filming, RA said, I smell smoke. And it was like one of the producers or somebody. It was like, oh, it's just a bug on the light. Don't worry about it. And then Frank looked up and he saw black smoke. And he's like,
Yeah.
we're on fire. And again, they had no running water. So everybody was just like throwing coffee
With cans
on
of
it and
Diet
stuff.
Coke, Diet Pepsi. Sorry.
Well, that's Diet Pepsi. Yeah, he's a big soda drinker,
Yeah.
and he had stashed a 12-pack of Diet Pepsi. And after everybody ran out of all the bottled water and coffee and whatever they were drinking, he put it all out with. He shook up the cans and sprayed
Yeah.
it. And it was all out by the time the fire department got there.
This looks like one of the most uncomfortable fleshlights.
They left that in the house.
For someone
They
to find.
forgot it. Well, from the no, not on purpose, but it was owned by a Jamaican guy, and he called them and he was like, "What is this?"
Why are you so unhappy? Why are you
I'm sure it doesn't work, as in
Tell me why.
you couldn't use it for this purpose.
I want to help you.
I don't know. I would be a little too afraid to use one of
A
those
used
masturbators
fleshlight.
that. Well, not a flashlight, but one of those ones that
I love you.
moves.
When I wake up
Yeah, yeah.
and when I go to sleep, you're all I think of. I'll do anything.
Well, you can't. I wouldn't want to use a flashlight anyway because it's in the shape of a vagina.
Yeah, but you can also get ones with ass lips. Some
Ass?
guy-
Did you just say ass lips?
yes.
If you have lips on your ass, then you have a problem.
We can't let that get
Well, I thought that your anus was basically like a pressed up lip anyway. Like
No, it's
a sphincter.
no.
That's what Dr. Roz said.
Well, Dr. Oz is a quack. Everybody knows that. It's
You know, he
not
played the dad in
lips.
Modern Family.
Exactly.
Actually, I was looking up because I got a gay bingo every week, and they have
Yeah.
funny slides, but they're
Yeah.
asking people to submit new pictures, and I'm friends with
Oh.
the people that run it.
Oh no.
And one of the slides is in reference to a strap-on, and I found this sex. It's a strap-on, but what it is it attaches to like the heel of your foot, so you can like fuck yourself by like bouncing up and down on your foot. I just found it hilarious, just imagining someone.
I've seen another one where it's a mask and
Like a
you
dickhead.
well, it's a strap on, but it's like it goes across your mouth and there's like a little piece for your nose, like a little groove, and the dildo is attached to it. So the point is so that you can fuck somebody with it and have a front row seat and watch the penetration.
Oh, okay.
You'd
I
like the
think I'd
sound
just
of
rather
that,
lick
do you?
out than
Yes, I'm sure you would.
or get like a tongue extender.
I knew somebody who had a penis extender.
Like a pump.
No, it's like a hollow dildo
Oh,
that
yep.
you put your dick into.
Yeah.
It's more for the other person than it is for you, because you don't feel anything.
Yep. Well, I've seen that, like, where the bottom has that already inserted in themselves. And then you can fuck that apparatus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everybody, snuggle up. One recast family. What the fuck? Where the models at? Y'all want some beautiful women. They are beautiful.
This is very Sound of Music.
Oh yes.
What is it, you cunt face?
Mm-hmm.
Vulgar and disgusting. The vagina is not disgusting. The vagina is a
Okay, I beg to differ on that one.
I've seen some lovely artwork of a vagina. It's
Remember that episode of Sex in the City with the guy
The
who
cunt?
painted vagina?
Yes.
Yeah. I just remember that old lady. I bet you have a beautiful cunt, dear. Oh, that made me feel so dirty.
oh god, he's such a prude. But then
I
you have
lost
read
track.
my stuff, so I can't be saying.
Yes, I have.
All right, this stops now. Right now. Lean into it. That's
No, I lost track of what I was going to say. I wanted to
You were
say
talking about
something
Sex in the
movie.
City.
No, I was going to say something before that.
How you've been really getting into, and then in the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
No.
No, something about the movie. No, I don't remember what it was.
This woman?
You're out of your fucking mind.
No.
I think she's quite pretty. I think all the women are quite nice in this. Well, these ones not so much, but
good. Oh, that's great. Yeah, just like that.
What did you think of the collection of pussy faces?
yeah, they're the ones I say not so much these.
Well, I was talking about the book that, or the portfolio that you see in the beginning, where she shows her, what do you call it? Her agent or whoever.
Ah, when he says we can't show this anywhere.
Yeah. That was James Glickenhaus, who was like a producer, and he produced Frankenhooker and Basket Case 2 and 3, in addition to a bunch of other movies. And he had a studio in the 90s. I don't know what he's doing now, but Frank said that he was perfect for that particular part because when he doesn't yell. When he
Yeah.
gets upset, he talks very calmly, and that's what he wanted. He didn't want somebody to freak out on her and be like, "Oh, this is disgusting." He just wanted somebody to calmly tell her, I can't use this."
Yeah.
There's Tina Kraus,
Yes.
who's been in a lot of horror movies.
Although, what is the definition of a mansion? Is this the mansion that they're in?
Back there, sneaky boy.
Yes.
Okay.
You don't have to hide. I'll let you watch if you take your shirt off.
Sorry,
You wearing underwear under those jeans?
he said he was sorry.
I know what you were looking for back there. You were looking for titties, big and beautiful. Your mama ain't got titties like these.
Let it go, Tina. Hey, Jen's bats. He's the one who hooked everything up for us.
Thanks for letting us shoot here. I appreciate it.
Hey, yo, man, I gotta go do something. Real nice. It's fucking.
And I think I figured out, because I remember reading it, how I was saying this reminds me of the 90s. And I think what it is because by this time they were shooting more on digital, whereas this was actually shot on short ends. So it still had that look of film to it.
Well, yeah. So Frank did. It was costly, but at the time, Frank. Well, I've heard him say two different things. Give two different explanations. First, I heard him say he wasn't sure because digital was still fairly new at the time. And he said he wasn't sure that it would look as good as 35 millimeter. And he didn't want to shoot on DV because he thought it would make it look too sleazy.
Yeah.
And oh, I was gonna say, I forgot where I was going. And he said one of the another thing that he said was he likes the fact that it's shot on 35 millimeter because it looks very much like a real movie, but there's the themes and the things that you see in the movie aren't something that you would see on a mainstream 35 millimeter film.
Yeah, something has to look professional about it, and it's the film quality that looks professional.
Yes.
Like if everything looked silly, then it'd be a silly movie. But it's sort of like the producer that you were just then saying, sort of explaining something in a calm voice is different than explaining it crazily.
Oh.
Find it?
Huh?
Your phone.
Yeah, it was right where I left it. That guy in there.
Oh, Bat?
Yeah, what do you know about him?
That's your name's Glenn Bat. Got that nickname because you're so fucking weird.
She
What's his
found
real
her
name?
Prince Glenn Bat.
Ah, when I first saw it, I thought he said his nickname is Glenn Beck because it's so weird. And might I just say, I hate that he doesn't throw away the bottles. That just annoys me. That he's got all of these empty pill bottles.
I don't think it would have been as effective had they been
No, I know, but
disposed of.
when you see him trying to find
You just
tablets,
don't
it's
like
ugh,
clutter.
no. I'm a bit anal that way.
And in other ways. See, now I kind of regret not taking notes because there are things that I was going to say, I guess Frank got spoiled because he first started shooting on 16. Basket Case was shot on 16. And I guess his earlier shorts were 8. I don't
Yeah.
know. But he did some shorts before Basket Case, and then from brain excuse me, from Brain Damage on, it was 35. So I'm gonna take a drink now. You say things.
Okay. I like the archway and the front doors. It's very much. We have a show called Play School where they would go through an arch window. I'm just babbling on to like cover up the noise of you drinking.
Well, generally, you have a habit of just going completely dead quiet whenever I take a drink. So I thought this time I was going to warn you ahead of time.
You know, I recently tried to buy a camcorder and could not find any, like, nothing
You
very
have
cheap.
one in your phone.
Yeah, well, that's what it is that now they just rely on people having it on their phone.
What do you want one for? You couldn't find a GoPro?
I forget why. I forget why, actually, yeah. It might have been when I was filming, I was doing a YouTube show, and we were just using the camera on the computer. and it
Laptop.
was- yes.
You didn't like it? You wanted a more professional look?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How long did you do that for?
We did it for. It was a show called Adelaide Stubble. We did it for maybe a year and a bit. Yeah, that's right. Because it was part of a social club, and then the president left and got replaced with a fine person. But let me just restart this again. When we first started the show, one of the committee members didn't like that he wasn't involved with it, and so he left the committee. And then when the president left and a new one came in, the old treasurer returned, and so we thought we're going to have issues now again with this person not liking what we're doing, so we just stopped doing it.
Are you still friends with your co-host?
Yeah, yes, I get along very well with Greg. I went and saw a play recently that my other half couldn't go to, so I invited Greg along, but he also couldn't go to, so I just watched it alone, and it was really good. It was just a one-man talk fest, but it was interesting.
Where are we going?
Upstairs, second floor.
Now, is this the same outfit from Frankenhooker?
I don't think so.
Well, in the in the trivia it says the outfit worn by the prostitute in this film is the same outfit worn by Frankenhooker.
She was all dressed in purple.
Well, this is like a purpley lilac. God.
It was like a purple bra with fake nipples sewn into it and a purple skirt.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe it's an homage to it.
You don't go read in that IMDb trivia. Okay? But this girl, what happened
I
with
wonder
her?
if this was another. They could have used this as a poster as well.
This girl, when he had to put her outside because she couldn't stop orgasming.
Orgasming, yes.
That was like, they filmed this from Thanksgiving until Christmas, so it was
This
very,
one
very
scene.
cold.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And her titty was hanging out, and they had to do this over 2 nights, and she was on the floor, on the ground, moaning and screaming with her titty hanging out in the freezing cold. And then guess what happened?
She got pneumonia.
Well, she got sick, but
Yeah.
I don't think she got pneumonia. But when they were finished with the movie, they were reading the credits and they forgot to mention her.
Really? So the one who nearly died for her art. doesn't get a
Yeah,
mention.
they were like, no, we can't not. So it cost them a few $100s to have somebody redo the credits to put her name
Yeah.
back in, to put her name in, right? Rather. Oh. I can't believe he just said it ain't funny anymore. Like, what movie does he think he's in? This isn't. This isn't Friday the 13th, part Infinity. That's a line from Psycho Cop 2. Thank you. Thank you.
So has Anthony Sneed been in much since?
No. Not that I know of.
And just, I forgot to mention, watching this, he was mentioned as an executive producer.
Oh. Maybe he put up some money then.
Hmm.
Hey, yo, those animal steroids you gave me, could it be side effects that'll make someone else flip out? No, I fucked the hooker and she's going nuts.
See, these moments here, when he's really trying to emote, they're not good.
I didn't mind him in this, but I think because of the type of movie that it is, I can forgive
Almost 45 minutes now. 45
this
It's
delivery.
Yes, this is very amateur.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like The Room where they were trying to be legitimate,
No.
do a drama.
No.
It's like melodrama.
Yes, it fits. It fits with the movie that they're trying to make, yeah. But it's hard not to notice his complete lack of training. But it's really sad that he doesn't know what the fuck to do with her, so he just takes her outside and leaves her there, covers her tit, and walks away.
Like I had a drunk guy fall asleep in my car, so I just left him on the school oval.
Oh, that's nice. You couldn't have at least woken him up?
He wasn't waking up at all. So- Although,
That's
actually,
when-
no, I saw him like a few days later because I was working at the airport, and he left, for a plane, and he was still wearing the same jumper. So-
Oh. Are we drinking this morning?
no, actually, because it's quite warm, like I am, but I've got a pineapple and lemon natural water, mineral water, sorry, and I added some
Of course.
Midori, like not Midori, but like a coconut rum.
Of course. So we are drinking this morning.
Yeah, but it's more other stuff than alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
It's like midsummer when they start imitating the orgasm.
Mm-hmm. So is this your first Frank Henenlotter movie?
It is.
You haven't seen Basket Case?
No, I had planned to because it's on Tubi, or it was, but I just didn't get. I think I watched Reanimator instead.
No way. You saw what you did to her. Probably still in the alley screaming her
Um.
head off. What? Yeah, well, I fucking hate you. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
I think this is.
Gloria Swanson. They've got her in a turban.
Wait. I gotta hear her voice. Yeah, this is Beverly Bonner. And she has been in all of Frank's movies.
Yes, I
In
remember you
tiny
saying
roles.
to Tim.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, she was first in she was first like a supporting character in Basket Case. She played a hooker who lived in the same building as the main character, and then she keeps showing up in little roles in all of his movies. And she was also in the play that Divine was doing while John was filming Desperate
Woman?
Living.
Yeah.
I think. I keep wanting to say. I keep wanting to say women in prison, but it's women behind bars.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was in that with Divine.
We can use these unless we crop, blur out the faces, which kind of renders it pointless. I don't think we can use these at all. Our advertisers are going to have a fit, an absolute fit. You know I've always supported you.
She was doing a cable access show for a while, and there was footage of it on the Basket Case DVD, the first one that came out.
Okay.
And it looked really bad.
Remember what happened? Walmart yanked the magazine off the shelf. Barnes & Noble wouldn't stock them unless we polybagged them at 50 cents per issue, which further killed sales because no one could look inside. And what have you come up with? Vagina faces. Jennifer, vagina faces. What were you thinking?
You can tell he's not an actor.
Yes, well.
Nervous and jittery and tingly inside, but in a good way, like when I was a little girl about to rip the wrapping off a birthday present. I didn't realize how much I needed him.
You know, I think
I'm getting goosebumps and I feel him as if he's racing through every
I think the Jennifer character is
time. I deserve to be happy.
or her situation it might have been inspired by the what is it called, the myth of I think it's vagina dentata.
Okay.
It was what inspired the movie Teeth.
Oh, okay. Yep. Isn't that a not like a male phobia, psychological phobia of teeth being in the vagina?
I don't know. Well, I was gonna save this for the teeth commentary, but I don't even know if we're ever gonna do one. I would like to, but I'll tell the story again then if we do. But because now that we're talking about vaginas, I think it's apropos. Okay, so this is what happened. This was maybe 2002, 2003 ish. And I don't exactly remember why, but I was trying to find something about Heather Langenkamp. And I thought maybe she had a website. So
Yeah.
I went to heatherlangenkamp.com. Lo and behold, it was a porn site.
Oh, really?
And, well, yeah, it was just, it was a porn site that was using her name and if they wanted to buy it from her.
Okay.
Or she wanted to buy it from them. A lot of people will do that. They'll buy a domain so that they can sell it. But on the main page, right when you went to heatherlangenkamp.com, the first thing that showed up was a close-up of a vagina and two fingers with a very nice French manicure, I must say, spreading not the vulva, but the hole.
Labia? Oh, okay.
And I swear on my life, you could see teeth in there.
Oh, okay.
And it was not only teeth, but it was gum.
Okay.
And I thought I was hallucinating. And I was like, okay, first of all, I gotta take a closer look at this. And I don't want to, but I see fucking teeth.
Maybe it
And
was tonsils.
this was before, no, it was at the front. And this was before I started having troubles with my vision. And, granted, my vision, I don't think I ever had 20/20 vision, but my vision was fairly decent at one point in my life.
Yeah.
And, it was, they were for sure eye teeth. There was a tiny little gap, and there was gum. Like a little bit of gum in between the gap. I remember this so specifically.
Yeah.
And I was so, like, I don't know. I don't want to say obsessed by it, but I was just like so like
Affected by it.
affected by it that I was literally calling my sister into the room, my mother into the room, my father. I was like, look at this. And you could only imagine their surprise when I said, can I show you something?
Yeah.
And they come into the bedroom and there's a spread vagina. And they're like, why are you? I'm like, look at the teeth. And I don't think that they wanted to, get close enough
Look
to
into
look
it,
at
yeah.
it. Yeah. So
Look it in the eye.
I had to show. I took a screen cap of it and I sent it to a friend of mine online, and he was like, "I don't see it. I don't know what the hell you're talking about." And I was like, "You got to be kidding me! It's right there." So I put it. I pasted it in Microsoft Paint, and I drew a circle around it with an arrow pointing right there.
Yeah.
And as soon as I did that, he was like, "Oh, I see it now." So as soon as he saw it, I knew I wasn't fucking crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't.
But had you seen vaginas before that?
Ye-
Maybe they
Yes.
all have teeth.
Yes, I have. Well, I've seen.
Now I'm imagining a
one.
vagina with braces.
I've seen one up close and personal. That's what I'm gonna say. But I don't know if it was a manipulated image or if it was the real deal. I have no idea. But because I think it might have been manipulated or photo. Well, there was no. I don't think there was Photoshop then. But
Oh, no, well, that was probably during the day when you'd have naked photos of Anthony Sabato Jr. and it was somebody else's body.
Antonio.
Yes.
Let's just say I enjoyed his Calvin Klein ads very much. But yeah, well, because she was spreading it, it must have been added.
Unless it was from a medical dictionary.
Well, I don't. If it were, I don't think the girl would have had a French manicure.
Maybe that was photoshopped.
All right, we're gonna stop talking about vaginal teeth.
You French manicured lesbian porn.
It wasn't
tapping
lesbian
at the
porn.
lips.
It was just a vagina that was close up. Wouldn't it be freaky if instead of teeth I saw 7 clits?
Oh my god. For 7 brothers.
Well, I was talking more about Jennifer.
Yeah, no. Although I thought maybe it was because apparently you have a few technically sphincters around your body. Maybe it was similar to that. Because she doesn't really stimulate anywhere else when she masturbates earlier in the film. She could have, done the other clip.
Crazy? You saw what happened to her. She could be dead by now for all I know. She couldn't handle it.
This is like porno acting.
I'm built for it.
But why the fuck would you masturbate elsewhere when you have 7 clits and that's like the... Isn't that like the female G spot?
No, but I'm saying, like, let's say she had a clit in her elbow, wouldn't you stimulate? You'd have more options.
Well, that's what
of
deep
clitoris.
throat is about.
Yeah.
But
Is it saying that she's got 7 clits in her vagina?
yes,
Oh, okay.
that's why RA freaked out when he gave it a good long look.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's also too why the way she has sex, like she has sex like bent over and she's on top and she doesn't really let the guy look.
Yeah.
I'm the one that gave it his health, nurtured it, made it something to be proud of, kept it alive for every damn drug he needed. And what am I? Goddamn junkie who can't get laid. I'll take her fucking whoever he wants. It's like, what do you call it? Spermatozoa. You got no eyes, no ears, no face, nothing. There only just be one thing in life.
Did he call it spermatozoa? What the fuck is that?
Basic primal instinct is happening in my dick.
I'll look it up later.
Well, I've heard of spermatozoa, not spermatozoa.
Oh, okay. What is spermatozoa?
It's a sperm.
Oh, it
It's
sounds like a spermicide or something.
no, it's like it's the clinical
Semen
term
and
for
sperm. Okay.
it's the clinical term. Mm. Frank said that always got a huge laugh at screenings.
His back.
It it's bad.
Ah.
Strangely enough, he didn't say anything about walkouts.
Oh, okay.
What's wrong with it?
Withdrawal.
We'll give it something.
It's had too much already.
We've got to help it.
Oh, the poor thing.
It can't breathe.
Lord. You need to break its rib cage to do that.
Oh. I remember the first time I saw this.
Breathe, breathe, breathe.
This was literally the first movie I ever saw that I was just so
Just leave it alone and get the hell
I,
out of here.
I couldn't pinpoint exactly how I felt about it. It
Yeah.
was just like by the time the credits started, I just kept thinking, what did I just watch? What the fuck was that? What? Because I'd never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well, have you ever seen Killer Condom?
parts of it, I couldn't, you know,
Oh.
the subtitles.
Yeah, but it's quite an old movie. Oh, but you weren't really into
No, I
I
was.
remember
I
it had
had
quite
my,
a cute
you know,
German guy on it. Ugh.
yeah, I
Um,
had my, yeah, I had my
Snobbery.
prejudice against foreign cinema.
No, but it's sort of watching it recently. It reminds me of like a Dirty Shame style, that type of comedy.
Well, when I was like 10, you know, me and my friend Jason, we were always acting out scenes, like, because we both wanted to be actors, and we were always and we both liked Van Damme, so we were like, you know, reenact action sequences. And
You
we
were a
always
fan of
played
Van
with-
Damme.
I liked Lionheart. I liked Universal Soldier. I liked Nowhere to Run.
Oh,
I like
yeah.
Double Impact. I liked his
I used-
early movies.
I used to watch because we had it on tap. I used to watch Bloodsport a bit,
I wasn't really too keen on that one.
but sorry to hijack your conversation. We have a there's a line in that movie where he has to smash a brick, and they're in a they're in a stack, and the he asks which one, and the judge watching it says bottom one, and like and whenever Matthew asks me which dishwasher we're using, because we've got an upper and a lower, like if it's the bottom one, I'll reply in that voice.
Bodily intercourse transcends
Mhm.
sex any mortal has ever known.
And actually, a story I read recently that I told my sister that I thought was hilarious is this was a while ago, but on Donald Trump's private jet, he used to show Bloodsport, but he would fast forward through the non-fighting scenes.
Eden, Sodom and Gomorrah, Armageddon, all inside my pussy. Plagues, famine, swarms
I would
of
think that
locusts,
he would be showing something
Jeremiah, Peter and Paul, and all the
else.
disciples deep inside my vagina. Heaven and hell,
His current wife. So so he used to recreate Rosanna Arquette and Jean-Claude.
finally fucking me, and all
Yes, that's what we did.
feel myself flooded with his
Yeah, but we used to, you know, not really choreograph. We just, you know, we used to have these elaborate fight sequences in the park on the grass.
Yeah.
No, it just made me think of it because when she was trying to resuscitate it, she said, "Don't you die on me." And I remember that's what he said to me
Yeah.
in like this really dramatic voice. I remember him going, "Don't you die on me." Those were the days when we used to go to the park with fake guns.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I don't even think you could buy toy guns anymore unless they're like, the kind that Kit used in
colourful.
Angel,
Ah.
like the cowboy ones.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was thinking like water gun almost level.
Or like Nerf guns or something like that. But I used to have a lot of toy guns, and
Did you used to have the caps?
well, no, I didn't like cap guns. But the thing about toy guns, or at least the thing with me and Jason, was you always wanted it to look real.
Yeah.
And if something looked too it was like had like neon painted neon colors or some shit like that, it was like that doesn't interest me. But if you had something that looked semi-real, generally it had one of those orange tips on it. And as soon as I would get it home, that would be the first thing I would do was pry it off.
Yeah. Didn't
I
you have
remember I
a
had
fake knife? Fake switchblade?
Yeah, I had that no, not a switchblade. I had that stupid 99-cent store one that was in
And you used to
May.
put lipstick on it or something? Was that something else?
Well, that was something that I did just fucking around. I put it on the side of the blade because it wasn't sharp.
Yeah.
I put it on the side of the blade and I dragged it across like my arm, and it looked like a cut. It looked good. So that was bad biology.
Mm.
And
Were you
how
ever good at biology?
No. Not even when I was having sex. I was like, where does this go?
Well, obviously. I was okay with biology. I wasn't very good at chemistry.
No, I wasn't bad at anything. I wasn't good at anything. No. I wasn't good at science or math. They were not my strong suits. I excelled in English and history.
Yeah.
And that's usually the case. It's one or the other.
And the choir.
No, I was terrible.
You will join the choir. So. So that was enjoyable.
Yeah,
I didn't watch this this end bit the first time. How old is Frank Henenlotter?
I'm pretty sure he was born in 55.
Okay, so he's approaching 70.
Yeah. I wish he was more prolific.
Yeah. Well, have there been directors who have sort of quoted him as an inspiration?
Oh yes.
Which ones?
I don't fucking know.
I'll just take your word for it.
I think Quentin Tarantino likes him.
Okay.
Well, John Waters likes him.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, well, that one I could imagine.
And I'm pretty sure I don't know if they're friends, but they're friendly.
Yeah.
And all that black and white footage in A
Yes, I
Dirty
remember.
Shame. Yeah,
Yes.
Frank, those were all from movies that Something Weird Video put out, and Frank provided all that stuff for A
Nice.
Dirty Shame. So,
All right.
but I think it would be amazeballs if Frank and John collaborated on something.
That would be very good.
Two very, very unique voices.
Well, I'm sure that they could not compete, but like build on each other's ideas.
Ooh, an anthology.
Oh, yes. But you'd need a third director.
No. Well,
Oh.
no. What they
Like
could
two
do.
evil eyes. Or something.
Yes! See how in sync we are?
Yes. We're the next John and Frank.
Yes. That would be amazeballs.
And one could be the vagina and the other eye could be the arsehole.
And I would be the French manicure.
Yes. With white tips. Or the vagina could be the actual implement you put your finger into to paint your nails. Like, those UV lights that you put your nails in after you get them done?
No, I don't get manicures.
You get pedicures.
No, I don't. No. I remember Paula Abdul got a pedicure and she got an infection and she almost died. Or no.
Really?
I think it was a manicure and she got an infection and she almost lost a finger.
Okay. That's a terrible story.
Well, I mean, there have been cases where women have gotten infections from pedicures and have died because
well, if they don't clean the instruments well enough, because they full on dig into your nails. Yeah.
Oh no. No, I have no interest in getting a manicure or a pedicure.
Yeah.
I don't like that stuff. Like primping stuff. Do you get mani-pedis?
No. I had once painted my fingernails clear to stop biting them, but that's as far as I've ever done.
You bite your fingernails?
Mm-hmm.
Me too. That's why when people look at my nails, they're always so impressed. Like, oh my god, I hit the microphone. They're like, oh my god, your nails are so neat. I'm like, I know.
Oh, because mine.
I chew them to the quick.
Yeah. So my ring nails are quite low. Like, I don't brag about my nails. So, well, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, this is actually the first time I watched it in a while.
Okay.
Because while I like it very much, and I think it's very well done, and it's got a lot of very unique elements to it. It's not a movie that you can watch over and over again.
Yep.
Because it does kind of leave you with an unnerving feeling. In a good way.
Well, I hope everyone else enjoyed it as much as I did. I quite liked it.
Any final thoughts?
No.
Okay.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Well, I just, like I said before, there are pretty hardcore fans of Frank's movies and people who love Frankenhooker and Basket Case and Brain Damage, but have never heard of this one. So I hope that more people will check it out.
Yes.
Yeah. So on that note, I think we're going to wrap this one up.
Yes, it's been enjoyable.
It has. So I want to say thank you to Tony for joining me again, as always.
And thank you for having me.
And I want to say thank you to everybody for listening. And until next time, this is Brandon Ford wishing you all unpleasant dreams.